TK, the Raisin Man.
All right, back here with the Raiders, man, and your boy Pete Carroll, man. You see him up there with his new team and his new quarterback, Geno Smith. Last year, tough year for our boy Antonio Pierce, and the Raiders went 4-13. This year, they're projected to win 6.5 games. So people think Vegas at least think Vegas.
Right. Vegas thinks Vegas is going to be better.
Vegas thinks Vegas is going to be a little bit better. Yeah. Read into what you want to read into that. But strength for schedule is 16, so about mid-pack. So not a gauntlet for the Raiders to go through this year. We'll talk about the schedule a little bit later on, but it was tough last year for the Raiders. Man. But talk a little bit about what you're seeing on the field last year with this Raiders team, man, and what went down out there, man, and how they can improve.
I think this Raider team was mistake prone. I just think this Raiders team gave up down the stretch and they just started playing for a draft pick. Their offense was abysmal. Their defense, even though they played well, they couldn't overcome the mistakes of the offense. And I just think that this team was just in disarray last year. We'll see exactly what this team does this upcoming year. I do believe they have talent. I do believe, they're changing the guard over there with Mr. Brock Bowers, as you see there on the screen. He was phenomenal last year. Broke the rookie record for receptions. He actually got more receptions than Malik Neighbors. So think about that. So Brock Bowers is doing his thing out there. I knew he was going to be a beast when he was drafted. I think they got a little bit better, as you saw Geno Smith on the cover with Pete Carroll. So they got themselves a new coach and a new quarterback, a veteran quarterback that has played some very good football the past couple of years with Seattle. So we'll see what he does over there with the Raiders. I think, I do think they'll be a little bit better and a little bit well coached, a little bit more energy in that building, and we'll see what they'll do.
Yeah, most definitely, man. You're gonna see this Raiders team start to take. They gotta start to have to develop an identity, and I think that's what Pete Carroll is brought there for, is to get the Raiders back to being the Raiders, to try to establish an identity with this team, because that is something that they've been lacking for real. But they do have your man Max Crosby, as you see there on the screen. So that is a starting point for sure, man. That is definitely a building block, and I just think they need more of those building blocks, man, when you talk about this team with the Raiders, man. But Raiders made some changes, and let's take a look at some of the offseason moves that they made. First, let's see who is on the out. Gardner Minshew, Desmond Ridder, goodbye.
All right.
And I think the Raider fans would probably be clapping. Those guys are not the best of the bunch. Lost Abdullah and Madison at the running back. Terrence Marshall went over to the Eagles. Center Andre James went to the Chargers, a division rival, switching over there. But talk John Jenkins to the Ravens. Talk about some of these losses, man, and who do you think they're going to be missing the most here, if anybody?
They only have really 2 key losses to me. You could say 3 with the last guy I'm gonna mention, but the 2 key losses was Robert Spillane and Devon Diablo. Those are actually pretty good linebackers. They did what they were supposed to do. Robert Spillane made some very good plays for them last year, and Diablo was the enforcer for those guys out there last year. So missing those 2 guys at the linebacker position really might hurt their defense this upcoming year. And Trevor Moehrig, when he's healthy and he was out there, he did pretty well. That's why he's with the Panthers. I think he signed a decent deal with the Panthers. So those 3 guys, but all those other guys, man, come on, man.
Yeah, it wasn't an impressive list. But that's what you get on a 4-13 team.
That's a fact.
It ain't gonna be a lot of talent to be lost. So. Looking at who they brought in, of course, the big one, as we led off with, was Geno Smith. Being acquired in a trade, also signing Mustard from the running back position. Alex Copper, 2-year, $11 million contract, man, helping them out on the interior. Of course, they re-signed Crosby. A couple other re-signings there on the defensive end. Jeremy Chin, one of them. But which one of these signings, man, do you think is going to have that big impact, man, here for the Raiders, man, as they try to improve on that 4-13 record?
Well, a couple of things that they did that I like is, getting that trade with Geno Smith. Getting Geno Smith in the building for Pete Carroll, who actually started him off on his upward trajectory. Re-signing Max Crosby to a 3-year extension was dope. Bringing in Jeremy Chin was dope. And the signing of Jermaine Pratt after he was released by the Bengals was a pretty good move for them. And Leaky Fotu, he could definitely be a depth piece for them. The only thing I don't like is you're just signing a bunch of guys like Landon Roberts, Devin White, Jalen Smith, Darnay Holmes, Eric Stokes.
Darnay Holmes. Oh.
Yeah, a lot of these kids, a lot of those linebackers that you brought in are not going to replace what you did. And Devin White is not the same player that he once was. Jalen Smith, my God. And Landon Roberts, no. Darnay Holmes, no. Eric Stokes, no. So we'll see what they do. I like the sign of Alex Copper too. Alex Copper definitely be that veteran on that offensive line for them. I like that signing too.
Yeah, I think they needed to do that, man. They needed to definitely improve that. You look, you just traded for Geno Smith now. You're bringing in Pete Carroll, so you need to start to work on that offensive line. It was not the best. Now it wasn't the worst either, but it definitely wasn't the best. There with the Raiders. Looking at the draft that they had, I think there's a lot to like here. Definitely like the Ashton Jeanty pick there. I think the narrative of running back shouldn't be picked high in the first round is being eliminated. Another one here, Ashton Jeanty, one of those dynamic running backs, man, that can do it all out the backfield. Jack Beck, who we scouted at the Senior Bowl, man, seen at the Senior Bowl, man, wide receiver out of TCU. We talked to him. He is definitely one of those guys, man, that is that can help out Geno Smith, man, give him a reliable target there. Caleb Rogers, I liked him out of Texas Tech. Also like their 7th round pick, Cody Lindenberg, linebacker out of Minnesota. There as well, man. So nice picks here, man, for the Raiders. I like the draft here, man. But what's your thoughts on what they did here in the NFL draft?
This is a Pete Carroll type draft, man. Get the running game going with Ashton Jeanty, the best running back in college football, one of the best running backs in college football in a long time. You get Jack Betch, another guy that could establish the middle of the field at the receiver position for them. Darian Porter, tall, long, physical, long arm cornerback. Pete Carroll loves those type guys. He is a Raider if I've ever seen one. Caleb Rogers and Charles Grant, developmental. That's why I like that signing of Alex Copper. He could come in and play a year, show those young men on how to play at the offensive line, and you allow those two guys to develop into starters, which I do believe they will develop into starters. They had a heck of a third round when I'm looking at it. My goodness. Then the people that people might not think much about Dante Thornton Jr. out of Tennessee, but he is a Raider. He is that long, tall receiver that can run. He can take the top off the defense for you. When you want the defense to back up so you can get Ashton Genty some room, play action, launch that ball to Dante Thornton Jr., he can make some plays. And then Pete Carroll all over his draft. 2 defensive tackles in Pegasus and Hemingway played major roles on both those defenses in the SEC to make those defenses very good last year with those guys. So they will play musical chairs with that defensive line over there with the Raiders, and you already have Max Crosby. Give him some help. Let some of those guys develop over there. You know, you got Cam Miller, who could turn into something after Geno Smith has retired. Cody Lindenberg, who knows what he could turn in, but that might be a good pick in the 7th round. I love what they did in the draft. I think they had a strong draft.
Look, man, that draft right there was solid, man, and this is just year one. This is just year one for Pete Carroll and Geno Smith over there with the Raiders. Let's take a look at the roster here, man. As we been talking a little bit about what they did here from a defensive standpoint, from an offensive standpoint. Definitely like what they've been building on the defense, man. Like you said, man, they got Jeremy Chin. They have Christian Wilkins, who they signed last year. Remember that. They also got Crosby, of course. Some of the other guys they signed, they're just depth pieces, I'm guessing, man. But they started to build a good foundation over there, man. But on offense, I think it's going to be up to this offensive line, man, to be able to give Geno Smith some time, man. And it's going to be up to these receivers, man. Can these receivers step up? Do you see a real number one receiver out there, man, for this Raiders team? Those are some of the questions that I have when I'm looking at this roster, man. But what about you?
I mean, it's a very valid question. Who's the number one receiver? It's going to have to be Jacoby Myers. But you got Jack Betch out there that can take a lot of that pressure off of him, and I think Jack Betch can be an all-around receiver. If you need him to play to the outside, he can. He could definitely dominate in the inside and the slot. You got Trey Tucker as the deep threat, but I think Thornton, you need to let him compete with Trey Tucker to be that deep threat on this team. But you got a guy that can move the chains, and Jack Betch. And Brock Bowers is the number one receiver on this team, if you want to be honest with you.
That's true.
Just to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have to get the run game going, feed Brock Bowers, and those other guys are gonna have to come up and move the chains when they start to focus on those two guys. And that offensive line is yet to be seen. If they play half decent, I think this offense will be half decent. If they don't play well, I think this offense will be horrible. But we'll see. But the defense, I think they just keep building on what they're doing, and that defense could keep them in some games.
Yeah, I think the defense can keep them in some games, but I'm just I like the D line, man. I don't know. I don't know if they have enough pop, to really get there, man, where they trying to go, man. I don't know, man, but let's take a look at their schedule, man. Let's see if they can get ahead of that 6.5 win total that BetMGM has them at. Yeah, I mean, you starting off not too bad there. You got the Patriots, that's winnable. Chargers division, Washington, and Bears, you can win that one. You can beat the Colts, Tennessee. Then you get to Kansas City, Jacksonville, Denver. Then it starts to get a little bit sticky. You got Denver, Dallas, Cleveland, who's going to have a tough defense. The Chargers, Raiders, Philly, Houston, the Giants, and then the Chiefs. Whoa, that's pretty rough there. So light on the front end, heavy on the back end with this Raiders schedule. 6.5. Where you got them at? Over or under?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna have to say maybe under because I got them around 6 wins. But just to talk about this team, you're not gonna win a Super Bowl with the Raiders this year. That's not your aspirations. You want them to beat the teams that they're supposed to beat. You want them to beat New England. You want them to beat the Colts, the Titans, the Browns, the Giants, Arizona, Seattle, Raiders.
Yeah,
you want to beat up on the teams that they're supposed to beat. And if they do that, they could sneak a game against the Bears. They could sneak a game against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
They can sneak a game, a division game here too. You got to give them at least one division win. They might be able to beat a team like the Texans.
They might beat the Chargers. They might beat the Broncos once. I see
you
that.
know what I'm saying? They get
Even
to catch
the
the Broncos
yeah.
or the Chargers on a bad day on offense. Your defense holds up, and you wind up being able to run the ball against them that day. Who knows? You might be able to get a win in one of those games. Maybe even the Chiefs. They play the Chiefs very well every year, even when they were sorry. So
they do.
I can see them getting 6 wins, maybe 7. I'm gonna go to under because I see them at 6 wins. But if they get 7 wins, I wouldn't be surprised. Especially if you developing that team the way they're supposed to be developed, and they have a veteran quarterback in there now. So Geno Smith is gonna make some of those throws or the quarterbacks couldn't make or wouldn't make. So you never know, man. Maybe all they needed was a veteran quarterback, to get their offense to the next level. If Gentry is as advertised, you got a run game. Offensive line is going to have to step up, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think Raiders fans, yeah, man. I know it's been rough, and you want to think it's going to get a little bit better, but it's going to be a little bit rougher before it get a little bit better, man. I got them under here, man. I have them under. Division is very tough. You have the good fortune of playing the AFC South. So I could definitely see a situation where you stack a couple wins in that division. You know what I'm saying? And win some of your off division games, maybe you catch the Giants or Washington in the NFC East, something like that, man, and get to 7. But if I'm picking it, I'm right at that 5 to 6 wins with this Raiders team, man. It's just going to take some time. It's going to take some time with them. You got a uphill battle, in your division, and you have an uphill battle as far as establishing enough on offense. I talked about the receivers. I talked a little bit about the offensive line. They still got room to grow there. So you need a little bit more on offense. Defense can hang in there. Got to question the secondary, but I think the defensive line can hang in there. Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins and them scarce teams, but you need some more pieces on defense as well. So it's still building. I honestly can't see them getting to no 8-9 wins. If they get 7, they'll just barely crack the over. But as of right now, I'm going under with this Raiders team, man. But yeah, man, that was the Raiders. Up next, we are going to conclude our AFC West preview with the Denver Broncos, man. So stay tuned. We will be right back.